what's up you guys, this is Warframe Guy Plays, and today on #confirmed, we've got some very juicy news when it comes to focus. So as I had stated in yesterday's video, there would actually be a dev shop posted today, and I figured I would go ahead and go over it with you. Now, not everybody is super into these types of videos, but basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you the 4 pages of the dev workshop called Facts and Fundamentals of Focus 2.0. Not everybody necessarily wants to go and read it themselves, so if that's what you're interested in, I can go ahead and read it to you right now. I actually went over this a little bit earlier and I was like, how am I gonna pare this down to make this like more condensed? And there was just no way I was gonna do it, so I figured, I'll just go ahead and read it to you. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. So these are the words of Rebecca herself. Honorable Tenno, focus means spoilers. Read no further if you haven't completed the second dream. It's been almost 2 years since we released the first version of Focus. Focus comes as a system unlocked upon completion of the second dream. After answering a series of questions from the Lotus, the operator chose a focus school and began your journey through a series of passives that you needed to unlock, all the while earning focus points to do so. Then came the War Within, where your operator became playable with a few abilities meant mainly to help you earn Kuva and participate in quests. The core purpose of this rework is to shift the goals of the focus system from supplementing Warframes towards making your operator more combat ready. This means that there will be more of a balance between passives and actives under Focus 2.0. Let's start with some very important facts about your accrued focus points and installed lenses. All installed lenses have been returned to your inventory. You should give yourself time to study the new system before you reinstall them. 2. All spent focus points have been returned so you can respect them with your skill trees. Now, this is one thing that I definitely wanted to clarify because there's a little bit of a point of contention here. I went ahead and asked Rebecca directly, will the focus points be refunded to their respective trees, or will they be kind of like open in a pool that you can spend on any tree that you want? So I have gotten confirmation, and you guys did see it live last night on primetime. They will be refunded only to their specific trees. So if anything sounds really juicy to you right now, I highly suggest you start focusing on that specific focus school. And lastly, there are focus lenses. There are focus lenses, 1.25 affinity conversion, greater focus lenses, 1.75 affinity conversion, and now, name not final, Eidolon/Ostron lenses, which will grant 2.25% affinity conversion. Blueprints for this last category, requiring multiple greater lenses to craft, will be awarded through the Plains of Eidolon bounty system. Now, we'll talk passives, residuals, and actives. Actives in their current form on the public build are at the behest of a 100 HP pool for the operator. The active and passive focus paths in Focus 2.0 aim to increase your operator's survivability and to give you the option to approach combat with added operator support and armaments. Only a few encounters will necessitate this, and as the game and feedback grows, we will develop accordingly. So basically, you know, it's kind of final, but it's not final yet, so let them know how you feel, because things are gonna happen. As far as the focus schools themselves, we have clear-cut the trees of the old system and are rebuilding entirely new ability paths. We are also including cross-focus nodes you can unlock with different trees. Many benefits of the new focus trees are linked to the activation of the operator or operator abilities, Void Dash, Void Blast, and Void Mode. This is one of the things that I kind of wanted to point out. They did specifically say Dash, Blast, and Mode. So I'm thinking that the Void Laser that we end up getting is going to be the only thing that we'll be able to augment through the kind of new system that they have in the Ostron colony. You know, they were talking about like the Monster Hunter with like the weird thing on his hand. I think the weird thing in his hand is going to dictate how our Void Blast is going to, our Void Laser thingy is going to work, as opposed to the skill trees, which are going to kind of alter the way that our Dash, Blast, and Mode work. Now, jumping back into it. If you remember anything from this point on, remember this: everything is subject to change. A case study for each school will follow, and each will offer a partial example of what's to come. This will not be a node-by-node breakdown, as it may change too much between now and release. What this shows is a single possibility. What you end up doing will depend on what you discover as you read the node changes on release. Naramon. We will go over an example of a new Naramon combat scenario. Your Banshee is under heavy corpus fire. A barrage of super projectiles are coming towards you. As a Naramon Tenno, you engage transference and enter operator mode and void blast an enemy with disarming blast. Your beam has a high chance to disarm all enemies unlucky enough to be caught in its path. You return to your Warframe and make quick work of the now weaponless enemies. Interesting thing that they said there, because I believe that Void Blast, isn't that like the punch melee one? So she's saying that now it's a beam? I don't know, we're going to have to see how that works, but that's going to be a nice interesting change. So instead of just like a punch, it might actually turn into some sort of like beam or like a projectile or something. Next, let's take a look at what we're calling the residual nodes of Focus 2.0. So these are the Naramon residual nodes. Residual starting node, Affinity Spike. A residual effect that grants you more affinity on melee kills. Once you activate the operator for the first time, i.e. second dream activation or simply calling out the operator, this remains for the whole mission. Residual, melee damage. A residual effect that grants you up to 50% more damage on melee kills. Once you activate the operator mode for the first time, i.e. second dream activation style, or simply calling out the operator, this remains for the whole mission. So we do have confirmation Naramon is going to grant bonus affinity on melee kills and bonus melee damage. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to Zenurik. Firstly, what about energy overflow? On the public build, energy overflow worked passively for a single player, and we are experimenting with an active, more powerful party-wide buff. Focus 2.0 has a placeable party-wide energy buff in Zenurik that stacks with other Zenurik users. Think of this as like an energy effect energy restore consumable that Void Dashing can create. We will follow up with the update notes about other areas of energy gain. So that's something that you should really kind of keep in mind, because now Zenurik is going to be able to create these patches for people to stand on instead of having something more passive. And this is kind of something that DE has done in previous reworks. As we know, with Mag's Shield Polarized, they didn't like the fact that all you had to do was kind of click your fingers and boom, everything was dead. Now they gave her Magnetize in its place, which deals a crap ton of damage in a large area of effect, but you have to work for it at the same time. They've always really stressed the fact that they want more active playstyles as opposed to more like single button pushes or really passive playstyles. And that kind of works with Mesa as well. They didn't like the fact that all you had to do was hold down one key and she would just kind of like auto aim and kill everything in sight. But instead they gave her a reticule so that she would be a little bit more active and participate a bit more to get the benefits from it. So, you know, my rambling aside, let's go ahead and jump into an example of a new Zenurik combat scenario. Your Mesa is going to work protecting your defense pod point from hordes of enemy Grineer. Suddenly, your frame runs out of energy. With no energy restores equipped, you quickly switch to your operator and void dash onto the objective. This creates a bubble where you land and you and your teammates can charge up quickly to make some peace. Next, take a look at what we're calling the residual nodes of Focus 2.0. So these ones are for Zenurik. Residual starting node, Energy Pulse, a residual effect that grants you a radial pickup effect for teammates. Once you activate the operator for the first time, i.e. second dream style, we're just going to say once you activate the operator for the first time, because I think you guys get the fact that they're saying the second dream activation style or calling out the operator. This remains for the entire mission. So what Energy Pulse sounds like, it basically sounds like Arcane Energize. Just putting that out there. If y'all are too poor for Arcane Energize, and I'm not saying that in a bad way because I am now too poor with all of the giveaways I've been doing, don't have any money for another set of Arcane Energize, this is going to be your version of Arcane Energize. Currently. It's all subject to change. Next is Channeling Efficiency, a residual effect that grants you up to 50% more channeling efficiency on melee. Again, it's activated by jumping into your operator and will remain for the entire mission. Now, let's go ahead and jump into Unairu. So let's take a look at the combat scenario for that. Your Atlas is rocking out on a mobile defense mission when suddenly a nasty Vox comes your way. Switching to your operator, you void dash to the enemy, sundering some of his armor and crippling his damage output. You remain in void mode near your teammates to grant them invisibility, and they deal with the enemy from the safety of the shadows. That's really interesting, because I would have not thought that group-wide invisibility would be something that Unairu has, but it sounds like Unairu is definitely about kind of like disabling and kind of dealing defensive damage, like giving yourself a defensive position against the enemies. So their residual starting node is Mirror Flare, which is a residual effect that reflects damage back at attackers. And, you know, that occurs once you activate your operator and remains for the entire mission. Their other thing is an armor buff, which grants residual armor increase for warframes and operators once you've activated the operator for the first time, and will remain for the entire mission. Moving on to Madurai. This one, I think this one actually sounds kind of cool, okay? And not just because they use Loki as an example. So let's go over the Madurai combat scenario. Loki, alone in the plains, is doing as he pleases. He decides to play a bit of a trick on some Grineer Tusks units he detects nearby. By slipping into transference, his operator cloaks himself. Each second spent cloaked significantly increases the damage of the next attack. After enough sneaking, the operator fires and the Grineer are no more. Next, take a look at, so we're going to go ahead and jump into the residual nodes of Madurai. The residual starting node is Phoenix Talons, a residual effect that grants you increased physical damage once you've activated the operator, will remain for the rest of the mission. The next one, I'm like, this could be a cool thing. Phoenix Spirit, a residual effect that grants you increased elemental damage. That's kind of good because, you know, you can affect certain procs that way. We'll have to see how it all pans out, but there are certain weapons that really would benefit from that. And again, that's once you've activated your operator during a mission and will remain for the rest of the mission. Next up is Vazarin, and this one seems really cool too. So the Vazarin combat scenario is your Rhino is strong, and together with the Saren in your squad, you're pummeling droves of enemies in a survival mission. The time marches forth, and so it goes. Your body count climbing higher and higher. As you check your HUD, you see Saren is taking heavy damage. This is kind of cool. With impeccable agility, you begin transference and void dash through her to grant complete immunity to damage for a limited time. What? You can void dash through people to give them invincibility? What is going on with that? That seems really cool. When you return to your Rhino, you stomp and the killing continues, so it goes. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Vazarin residuals. The residual starting node grants you increased affinity radius, so kind of like still will go hand in hand with Trinities and Harrows. Once you activate your operator and will last throughout the rest of the mission. Mending Soul will grant you instant revive. So basically Vazarin doesn't really feel like it's changed all that much. Now, let's jump into cross-focus unlocks. For players who delve deep into their focus trees, 2 passive nodes from each can be made universal once maxed. For a substantial focus cost, these passives become available regardless of the school you are using. One can only truly complete a focus tree by exploring all 5 of the Tenno ways. But there is also new. Okay, that's what they wrote. They wrote, but there is also new. I'm just going with it. All of the above examples don't include the coming weaponry and arcane-like enhancements your operators are getting when they become true Eidolon hunters. And she finishes it off with, thank you for reading almost 4 pages. If you made it this far, I salute you. Cheers. There are brand new things coming. We will cover these in detail in the update notes. The suspense continues. So from all of that, I'm kind of excited. The operators really do seem to be kind of like, they almost seem like buffers and debuffers, and they create kind of like tactical situations for you and the rest of your team. I don't really want to jump into too much discussion about it here because I want to kind of let everything soak in, really do some thinking about it. But from what it seems like, the operators will have a lot of access to tons of different things. As we saw yesterday when we were looking through the Naramon focus tree, there are things like executing dash. There was the disarm thing that they were talking about. There just seems to be like a lot of different ways that you'll be able to handle enemies when it comes to your operator. And the way that your operator kind of synergizes with certain warframes is going to be really cool, because if you think about it, and I'm just putting this out into the universe, if you're using something like Unairu and you've got a Mesa that's a little bit squishy, but a Mesa that can deal a lot of damage, you can go ahead and void dash up to her, stay stealth, and have her do Peacemaker, and nobody should be able to see her. Nobody should be able to see her. We'll see how all that goes. Regardless, that seems pretty cool. So it's almost kind of like a Navarra arrow on a Tenno stick. A Tenno stick? That sounds kind of dirty. Regardless, sounds like there's going to be a lot of possibilities. We'll chat about this a little bit later. But for now, let me know your first impressions of everything that I stated here. Are you excited? Does this sound like something that's going to appeal to you? It seems a lot more active than passive, which is really, really cool. And I really can't wait to see the rest of the effects. So toss your feelings in the comments below, and I will leave it at that. So as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. I'll chat with you guys later. Bye-bye!